Here's a cheerful thought. Over 100,000 British homeowners are about to be economically evicted from their own houses. Not by bailiffs, not by banks, but by a single, perfectly legal line of text buried deep in a government budget. This isn't a crisis for the ultra-wealthy, it's a time bomb for the merely comfortable. And when this wave of forced selling hits the market over the next 18 months, you are facing a moment of absolute financial destiny. You will either capture the single biggest property profit of your entire life, or you will lose your shirt trying to play a market that's about to turn totally upside down. I'm going to lay out the exact strategy you need to put into play right now to ensure you are positioned on the winning side of this historical disaster, but you need to understand the shocking truth of what's happening, and why almost every market expert completely missed the signs. So, if you want the unvarnished truth about the UK housing market delivered straight, hit that subscribe button right now. Because when this kind of chaos unfolds, you need a confident voice tracking the data, not a cheerleading estate agent trying to earn a commission. Don't just watch this crisis, prepare to profit from it. For months, the entire financial conversation has been excruciatingly predictable. Will interest rates tick up or down? Is inflation going to eat our mortgages alive? Will supply finally meet demand? It's all the same background noise, and while the commentators were obsessing over these tired, minor fluctuations, a nuclear device was quietly being planted under the foundations of the entire UK property ladder. It wasn't unveiled during some dramatic, televised announcement. Instead, the mechanism for the biggest property sell-off Britain has seen in decades was tucked away in the obscure footnotes of Rachel Reeves's budget announcement back in late November. The media is calling it the mansion tax, but the government knew better than to use a scary word like tax or a mansion. They disguised it with the ridiculously sterile name, the high-value council tax surcharge. Sounds relatively harmless, doesn't it? Like a mildly annoying fee for owning a slightly too nice driveway. But don't be fooled by the boring nomenclature. This thing is a forced exit mechanism aimed not just at billionaires, but, and here is the mind-blowing part, at your perfectly average, modest neighbor. This is the part that completely changes the narrative. This new levy isn't just for oligarchs and people who own literal castles. From April 2028, any property valued above the £2 million mark gets saddled with a compulsory, yearly tax that sits on top of their normal council tax. The annual bite starts relatively small, about £2,500 for homes between £2 and £3 million, but it scales up fast. Once you hit the £5 million valuation, you are looking at a £7,000 invoice every single year, forever. It's not a one-time stamp duty fee, it's a persistent, annual drain on capital. You might be shrugging right now, thinking, fine, tax the rich, I'm not losing any sleep over it. But here is the brutal reality check. Do you know how many ordinary, everyday people now find themselves accidentally rich because they happen to buy a decent family home in a decent area 30 years ago? We are talking about tens of thousands of people, maybe your own parents, who have lived in the same four-bedroom semi since the mid-90s. They paid £250,000 back in 1995. That same house in a prime home county's location, say Guildford, is now comfortably valued at £2.3 million. The paper value is high, but their actual, annual income is maybe £40,000 from a combination of a small private pension and the state pension. Their cash flow hasn't changed, but suddenly they are supposed to find £3,000 extra every single year just for the privilege of being in their own home. That's now £6,000 total when you combine it with the £3,000 council tax they already pay. On a £40,000 income, £6,000 is crushing. It's an economic eviction notice. They can't afford it. The system is forcing them to liquidate, and they are not alone. They are all selling, and this is about to create the most incredible buying and selling opportunities we've seen in a generation. Understanding the mechanics of the market means recognizing that the devil is in the detail of the timeline. Most people hear April 2028 for the tax start and think, great, 2 years away, I'll worry about it later. This is a catastrophic misreading of the situation, and if you move too early, or fatally, too late, you will miss the entire profit window. The tax kicks in 2028, yes, but the critical event is the property valuations, which are scheduled to occur in 2026. That date is mere months away, and it means that the owners of these expensive properties have only about 16 months from this moment to make a decision. They have three choices. 1. Sell their property before the valuation locks in their new tax status. 2. Stay and hope that their valuation somehow miraculously comes in below £2 million. Spoiler, it won't. Or 3. Downsize immediately to a smaller, less taxable home. What makes this a genuine pressure cooker is the fact that tens of thousands of homeowners are all doing the exact same, cold-blooded calculation simultaneously. They're sitting in houses worth £2 to £3 million, wrestling with whether they can afford to stay, and the math is utterly unforgiving. Let's go back to that 70-year-old couple in Guildford, sitting on a £2.3 million asset but living on a modest £40,000 income. The decision, when you look at the raw numbers, is already made for them. Option A, sell now. They unload the £2.3 million house, purchase a lovely, modern £800,000 flat that requires minimal upkeep, and are left with a cool £1.5 million in equity. Even after the costs of moving, they have around £1.4 million liquid cash. Invest that safely at a conservative 5% return, and it instantly generates £70,000 a year in passive income. That single figure is more than their current pension income and the state pension combined, meaning they have solved all their financial problems, secured their future, and created a nest egg for their children and grandchildren. Option B, stay. They remain in the massive, 4-bedroom property that they don't need. They pay £3,000 a year in the new tax on top of £3,000 in council tax. They continue to pay exorbitant maintenance costs, and they watch their hard-earned equity slowly but surely get taxed away. The decision is a no-brainer. They sell, they release the capital, and they start enjoying a financially secure retirement. And crucially, their neighbors are doing the same thing. And their neighbors' neighbors are doing the same thing. This is not speculation. Reports from industry titles like Country Life, the Bible of the posh property market, have already stated that the announcement of this tax has fired the starting pistol for mass downsizers. Estate agents are reporting a surge of inquiries from high-value homeowners looking for an exit plan. This impending wave is the genesis of our opportunity. When 100,000 properties all try to hit the market in a tight 18-month window, what is the inevitable, brutal consequence for prices? They collapse. Supply explodes just as demand vanishes, because the wealthy, savvy buyers who would normally snap up these properties are not stupid. They see the stampede coming, and they're sitting on their cash, waiting for the desperate sellers to hit rock bottom. This is where you position yourself. The key insight that separates the winners from the losers is this: property markets do not operate in a vacuum. They are connected, and what happens at the top end of the ladder cascades down through the middle and the bottom, completely reshaping the entire structure. When these 100,000 asset-rich homeowners downsize from their £2 to £5 million properties, they don't just vanish into thin air. They immediately become buyers in a lower bracket. Where do they go? They target nice flats, 3-bedroom houses in good catchment areas, and low-maintenance properties, the sweet spot of the £800,000 to £1.5 million range. Suddenly, you have tens of thousands of cash-rich buyers, each with £1 to £2 million liquid in their bank account after their sale, flooding this middle market. They are not messing around with mortgage chains or complicated paperwork. They can offer the asking price tomorrow, no questions asked, and complete in 6 weeks. If you are a normal buyer with a mortgage application and a chain to sort out, you simply cannot compete with that level of financial firepower. You get priced out, meaning the middle market is about to see massive, unnatural inflation. Properties that were selling for £800,000 last year will easily hit £1 million because a pensioner with £2 million in the bank doesn't care about overpaying £50 grand. They just want a smooth, fast, and secure transaction. Now, let's trace the rest of the chain. What happens to the homes those middle market buyers were previously targeting, the £600,000 to £800,000 bracket? As the downsizers push people up and out, supply finally opens up in this lower middle category, creating a vital opportunity for first-time buyers and young families who have been locked out for years. This is the complete market reshuffling. The top end crashes, the middle market inflates, and the lower middle market opens up. It's a total transformation, and depending on where you are sitting, you are either about to make a small fortune or be financially squeezed out of existence. But there's a truly sneaky detail that nobody is connecting yet: the price gap. Who wants to buy a property for £2.05 million when that figure instantly triggers thousands in annual tax? Nobody. This means properties are already being deliberately marketed at £1.99 million, just under the threshold, to avoid the tax stigma. The TV property expert Kirsty Allsop predicted it: the market will be flooded with properties aggressively priced just under the line. If you are a buyer looking in that £1.8 to £2 million range, you are about to have an unprecedented selection of desperate sellers competing against each other, slashing prices to avoid the tax boundary. But timing is everything. Early, you pay full price. Too late, and you miss the panic sale window. The recent December data confirms this thesis is already playing out. House prices dropped 0.2% monthly, breaking a 9-month winning streak. Annual growth slowed massively, from 4.7% to 3.3% in a single month. The regional splits are even more telling: London down 1%, the Southeast down 0.3%, but Scotland fell a massive 3.2% in 1 month. The expensive end of the country is decelerating, while Yorkshire and the North still tick upwards. The real smoking gun is transaction volume. Sales of properties over £2 million are down 13% year-on-year. The high end is seizing up completely, while transactions under £500,000 are flat or slightly up. And here's the kicker on demand: everyone hoped mortgage rates would keep falling, but December inflation came in hot at 3.6%, meaning the Bank of England held rates instead of cutting. Affordability won't improve as much as people hoped. Combine weak demand with the coming supply tsunami, and the pressure on prices becomes unbearable. This pressure is your opportunity, but you must know your category. Everyone in Britain falls into one of 3 buckets right now, and your category determines your strategy. Category 1, the expensive property owner, £2 million plus. This is the asset-rich, cash-poor homeowner, likely your parents. If you are in this bucket, you are absolutely screwed if you don't act fast. You need to initiate your exit plan now. Not next year, but today. The goal is to sell in mid-2026, before the inevitable mass panic of late 2027. Get 3 valuations, price realistically, take the first decent offer, and get out. Release that equity and live comfortably off the capital. Category 2. The high-end buyer, £1.5 million to £2.5 million. You have saved and are ready to move into a quality home. Do not buy now. Stop all viewings, stop all offers. Sit tight. You are waiting for late 2026, early 2027. Properties that were listed at £2.3 million will be going for £2 million or less as desperate sellers try to beat the tax deadline. Patience will save you hundreds of thousands of pounds. Category 3, the middle market first-time buyer, £600,000 to £900,000. You will experience short-term pain as cash-rich downsizers invade your bracket and cause inflation. However, the long-term opportunities are coming as they vacate their current homes. You need to stay liquid, have your mortgage in principle sorted, and be ready to move in days, not weeks, when a property is priced to escape the chaos. Finally, there is the silent investor developer category. If you have £1 to £2 million cash and the discipline to wait until late 2026, you are about to make generational wealth. You will buy quality properties at a 20% discount from 4 sellers. You buy, hold, and watch the market eventually recover. This is a massive wealth transfer, and you must choose to be the one benefiting, not the one being victimized. The final, bitter pill to swallow is the profound unfairness of this entire situation. The truly wealthy, those with properties in the tens of millions and billions, are not affected in the way the middle class is. They employ armies of tax accountants and lawyers to move their assets into complex trusts and corporate structures. They will find ways to minimize or completely bypass the high-value council tax surcharge. The people being forced to sell are the merely affluent, the normal families and pensioners who simply scrimped, saved, and made a good property decision 30 years ago. They are asset-rich on paper, but cash-poor in reality, and they do not have access to the fancy loopholes. The government is effectively forcing them out, creating an unnatural transfer of wealth upwards, from the stable middle class to the capital-rich investor class. You cannot stop this from happening. It is baked into the policy. The only thing you can control is your reaction to it. You must make a deliberate choice. Will you position yourself to benefit from the market's chaos, or will you be a victim of it? The market doesn't care about fairness, it only cares about supply and demand. And over the next 2.5 years, the supply curve is about to skyrocket while demand remains choked by affordability issues. This creates opportunity for the prepared and disaster for the paralyzed. Here is the timeline you must commit to memory. Right now to mid-2026 is the calm before the storm. Prices are flat, buyers are waiting. This is your window to get financially sorted, build cash reserves, and identify your target area. Mid-2026 to early 2027 is the panic. Valuations are confirmed, owners realize the tax is real, and listings surge. Prices at the high end will start to drop dramatically. This is when prepared buyers need to be ready to negotiate hard. Early 2027 to April 2028 is full panic mode. Sellers who waited too long are now desperate. Price cuts accelerate, potentially hitting 15 to 20% below peak in some areas. This is where investors and savvy Category 2 buyers clean up. April 2028 onwards is the aftermath. The tax kicks in, prices stabilize at a new, lower level, and the property reshuffle is complete. A new market normal, based on tax efficiency over pure affordability, is established. The central question you must answer is one of discipline. Are you going to be patient, or are you going to panic? If you own an expensive home and you panic sell too early, you leave money on the table. If you wait too long, you are competing with everyone else and prices crash. If you are a buyer and you panic buy now, you will massively overpay for a property you could have bought for hundreds of thousands less in 18 months. The right answer for everyone is to be patient, but prepared, and ready to act decisively when your moment comes. Do not rush, do not panic, but absolutely do not freeze. And here is the absolute key to success in a market like this: know your number. What is the price? The price, not the feeling, not the fear, but the hard number, at which you will buy or sell, no matter what. Write it down. When the market hits that number, you execute your plan instantly. That kind of cold, mechanical discipline is what separates the people who make money in property from the people who get emotional and miss the generational opportunities now presenting themselves. The UK property market just fundamentally transformed overnight, and the winners will be the few who saw it coming, positioned themselves correctly, and acted with confidence.